What's up, everybody? So good to see you again, or I guess you're seeing me. But anyways, you know what I'm saying. I wanted to share some of my thoughts on house dance competitions. Or I guess if you were to take off the house dance competitions in general, and I know that's quite a wide net to cast, but I guess if you just hear out some of these thoughts, it might help you a little bit, whether you're brand new to dance, which probably will help you out quite a bit more, and even the folks that are a little bit more seasoned, that have been in the game, as they would say on the streets, for a while. You know, hopefully some of these ideas will help you out. The reason why I'm sharing my thoughts is that obviously competing in dance in today's dance kind of culture and communities is a thing. It's an important thing, and in some cases it's kind of like the catalyst for the community coming together and interacting with each other in a social level, which is cool. I would say this is kind of my first opinion, and all of these are opinions, right? Like these are all just my opinions. So hate if you want, love me if you want, these are just opinions. And the first opinion is that I don't necessarily know if that's the greatest way that everybody should come together socially, but if it's a way to come together socially, dope. And that's part of the reason why I'm deciding to kind of speak about this topic. But the last few months, a lot of my close friends, as well as some associated friends, I've seen them posting online about dance competitions and their thoughts and some backlash, as well as I've had just, you know, personal conversations around, like, you know, what do I think about this competition or this type of competition, or how do I approach competing when this happens, or how do you go into competing in this way under this particular context or style. And there's quite a broad range of things to discuss when it comes to dance competition. So I'm gonna probably not be able to nail everything, but want to be able to just touch on a few hot topics and express my opinion. First, I think it's important to just kind of say a few things right up front. I've been competing for a really, really long time. And pretty much within the first year of dancing, I went to organized competitions where you literally show up, put your name on a list, or put your team's name on a list, and you're actually dancing in a head-to-head competition. For the new people, that means I dance, somebody else dances. At the end of it, the judges point to who they thought were better, either you or them or your team or their team. And having this experience both in a small local level as well as kind of regional bigger competitions as well as international, and being able to compete where you have lots of people watching you, where you have really high level dancers competing against you, I have lost a shit ton of competitions. I've made it into some really awesome competitions, made it very, very far just to get my ass handed to me in some final rounds or semi-final rounds. So I've lost on the most grand plateau of losing platforms, as well as I've entered in probably twice, if not 3 times as many competitions, and never even made it into the competition. A lot of the times this is called a preliminary, where you have to kind of show off or maybe compete into some micro level, and then the judges choose you to actually be in the competition. There's so many more competitions that I've entered where I've never even made it into a round where people can see me even compete. So I've just done a shit ton of losing, and that helps me really understand the landscape of things. Luckily, I have won a few. Like, I could probably count on my hands the number of like large competitions that I've won, and, you know, local and regional type competitions. Sure, I've won handfuls over the years, but I mean, so many more I have lost, and that's an important thing to express. The other thing that's probably even more important to kind of my concept and my mentality behind competitions is that I've been producing dance events and in some form or fashion, as well as dance competitions, for over a decade. And I've done traditional formats, I've done very contemporary formats that kind of remove the whole judging aspect to be so specific and forced. Them, you, her, him and kind of put these, new ideas in place. I've co-produced and produced events on international levels and organized events for thousands of people. So I have a lot of my personal kind of feelings and energy invested into the dance community in this dance competition level, to the point where, again, I feel like there's something there that gives me reason to be able to share my opinion for whatever validity that provides to you. So the first thing I want to address is I get asked more times than none, how do you approach competing, or how do you approach battling in dance competitions? And this may sound super cliche and cheesy, but if you give it a few attempts and you give it some time, if you decide to continue to battle and compete, it'll make a lot of sense. And that is that I try to have as much fun as possible at the competition. I try to hang out with people. I try to talk to people. I try to dance as much as possible when the music's playing. If I'm actually in the competition and I'm competing and I've made it that far to where now judges are choosing who they, me, you, I try to have a good time. Yeah, I'm battling that person, but I just try to have a good time myself, enjoy the moment, enjoy the opportunity, the fact that I'm able to dance and to be there. And maybe I was even blessed enough to be chosen to be even that one step further, to where somebody gets to acknowledge what I'm doing and I get to share. Even if it's not the best of my dance, it doesn't matter. Have a good time. Enjoy the opportunity. Enjoy the moment, the fact that you actually get to dance. Enjoy yourself. Now, again, sounds cliche. Number one piece of advice for new dancers and even the old dogs, they've been doing it for a long time. This is dance, guys and girls. It's supposed to be fun. So have fun. So here is topic number 2, or I guess kind of the second thing. And this one, I see a lot of backlash around. And this is about the whole judging of a dance competition and judges making bad calls, judges robbing people, judges choosing the right person. Is the person qualified to judge? Is there 5,000 judges on a panel? Is there only one judge? And how is that fair or not fair to the competitors and etc.? Now, getting this all out of the way, and this is probably the most overarching important thing to say about the whole aspect of judging and all the different mini topics inside of, did the judges choose the right person? Is it fair? Is it not fair? This is dance. Dance, as well as movement arts and them being different, which is for another conversation, it is subjective to every single person on this planet. And that's why I feel like an artist, because I create something and somebody will have a reaction to it and a feeling towards it, and it isn't always going to be the same as the next person. My mother loves the art that I create, loves it. My wife likes most of it. I have friends that think I'm a cool person, but they're not really into what I do when it comes to dance. In that giant spectrum of people that are close to me, of opinions, can be easily reflected into strangers that sit on a judging panel. It really is an opinion. It really is subjective. And how dancers react to those opinions can merit any level of reaction or backlash. They can be upset. They can talk shit about the person. They can call them out and battle the judge and, yo, you're not that good, so I'm going to battle you. And the truth is that a judging panel should be chosen for the acknowledgement of their opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean the judge has to be the best dancer in the world. I am not the best dancer in the world, and I've had the opportunity to judge many times. And I know that I'm not the best dancer in the world. I know a lot of the times people I'm judging are far superior movement artists, and even in a lot of cases dance artists, just way beyond me. But that's okay, because my opinion and my experience of dance is going to offer something unique. It's to the way that I choose them. And if you have one judge on a panel of 3 judges, 5 judges, 10 judges, that always seems to vote in opposition of what everybody else is doing, that's okay. That's why you have a panel, and that's why art remains subjective. Until you can quantify and codify every move and put a point structure on everything that every dancer does, you can't expect people to line up in, succinct fashion. Otherwise, we end up with things like, organized gymnastics, where when somebody goes to do their routine on the floor, or the parallel bars, or the vault, we already know what the maximum level that they can achieve, and we just start subtracting based on what they're able to execute. How boring would this dance world be, even in competitions, if we said, okay, such and such is about to go out. Their run is a possible 7-point something, and I'm just going to start subtracting for each little hiccup and each little face that they make that I don't like. Man, that would be whack as shit. So have respect for the judges regardless of their ability, level, experience, or time, and just value their opinions as human beings looking at art and subjecting to art. Now, I know you're going to say, what about bias? That person's in the crew, that's their best friend, that's their boyfriend, that's their girlfriend. Yeah, all those things are super relevant, and you can't subtract from that. That also adds to the subjectivity and the objectivity of how they're evaluating the art. If you don't like it, then just say you don't like it. There's no reason to be negative and to cast kind of a conflict, to talk shit about the person, or to unnecessarily try to embarrass the person, or just tarnish another person's idea just because this is the way that they felt. And there's so much more on that topic that can go into, and maybe this is a lines for communication where we can discuss this, outside of me just preaching to you, right? But the fact of the matter is, and the statement is, appreciate the judges for their opinion, and they're able to do so. And as an event organizer, also realize that these people sometimes have to do extraordinary amounts of attention paying, where they have to focus and really sit there for hours and hours, and sometimes not get up to pee and not have any good food. And sometimes organizers don't think these things all the way through, and they just say, sit here for 20 hours and watch. Oh yeah, and then you got to dance and perform. So just give them a little respect, regardless of who they are in comparison to who you think you are as an artist. And realize that they're also an artist and a human just like you, and the tables can be turned, and you would want your opinion valued just as much as theirs. So now, moving past the judges, it gets us to kind of like the third topic or point. And this is one of inclusion. This is something that I hear pretty often. Totally valid, makes a lot of sense. You look at the flyer or the posting online, the Facebook event, whatever, you don't like the judges. Maybe you don't even like the DJ because musically you think that they don't play music that you like, and that's totally valid. Maybe even the promoter or producer of the event, you don't like the way that their events run. All these things included, maybe individually or all together, which is for you is like the ultimate nightmare event, you might decide there's no way I'm going to enter that event. I'm not going to compete in that event, and that's fine. As I said before, trying to have fun, you might have more fun actually competing than not competing, but again, to each their own. I'm not going to force that on anybody. But I want to give you a different perspective. First off, in getting this right out of the way, if you feel inclined to attend an event, even if you don't like some aspect of the event, you should still go and support. The community in some neighborhoods is just not big enough to boycott specific events. It's just silly. It doesn't help grow anything. It doesn't further anybody. And truthfully, our culture in some areas may have the opportunity at life and then may just die on the vine because no one could get their heads out of their asses to support one another. And if you don't like an aspect of something, but you like the person trying to do it, maybe you lend a way to help them to make that better. If you feel like the judges aren't good at opinions, then maybe you offer up your services as a judge. Maybe you think that's silly because you're brand new, and that's fine. You don't have quite a refined opinion. Maybe the DJ is not very good and you can't DJ. Well, maybe you can help them out and find them a DJ. Anyways, what I'm getting at is you should still attend the event. Now, this topic isn't specific to personal conflicts where people actually have other personal conflictive issues with particular people, be it any part of the event, dancers competing, judges, the DJ, the event producer, organizer. If you have some other quarry that goes beyond what dance is, then I can understand why you may not want to be in attendance. But remember, this is dance. So if it's not something, much larger, much more personal, which is not for this video, you should probably still think about this is just dance, and you could still enjoy the event and hang out with some people, maybe see something cool that you didn't know, or maybe support a particular dancer that is competing. You should still go. I think from the topic of should you or should you not go based on who's judging, who's throwing it, who's DJing, who's entering, yada, yada, all the millions of things, you decide, I'm not going to enter this event for X, Y, and Z reasons. Maybe, here's a good one. I'm a really good house dancer. And I don't do all styles because they never play good house songs in the all styles battle. Well, as a house head, I would say that sometimes is true, but that's my opinion on what I like when I hear house music. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't necessarily mean that's why I shouldn't enter. Why I should enter, and this is the kind of the concept for you guys to kind of marinate on a little bit, is that when I enter the competition, even if the medium, the canvas, the opportunity to do my best isn't there, A, I could still potentially work out to have fun. B, I could still build experience as to dancing in front of people, especially if you're newer and you get nervous about that. And I still get nervous about dancing in front of people. Build up more confidence and experience dancing in front of people. C, you might build and develop new relationships with new people, be it judges, event promoters, other dancers are there. So the aspect of them seeing you for the opportunity to create a new friend is much greater. D, and this kind of goes as a piggyback to that, the opportunity for you to share your art and express your art in whatever fashion does something very, very special. The streets call this special thing respect. When you dance, regardless of your ability, even if it's incrementally better than last time they saw you, or whether you just maybe don't show up on the greatest because, again, of the landscape, crappy song, etc., whatever your opinion of why you didn't do well is, you still get respect because you're in there, you're doing it, hopefully you're having fun, and everybody can feel that. You're not a waste of space if you're in there with a positive mindset and you're really expressing yourself honestly as much as you can given the medium or the opportunity that was presented to you. You get those respect points, and if we translate that into from the streets into more of like holistic humanity, this gets you just in general a broader audience for your artistic expression. People automatically start to see what you're doing and start to understand a little bit more each time. Especially if you're that dancer in your neighborhood or in your community or in your scene that everybody just doesn't get. And this is a really special message to you because just because they don't get you doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't super awesome. And what you're doing isn't super creative. And what you're doing isn't yourself, which is probably the most important part for me about dance. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. It may never win you a competition being yourself. It may never, because sometimes being yourself translates well to everybody, and sometimes it takes time and persistence and resilience. But that's okay. That's really, really important because each time you do this, you chip away. You get a little bit more respect, but you also chip away at what people start to understand and start to visualize as to how you're creating movement, how you're dancing to that music. And sometimes you might get that perfect synergy of music, lighting, audience participation, judging panel. You ate the right breakfast, the right outfit. I mean, you might get this perfect synergy where your unique self-expression will translate for that one particular moment. And regardless whether you win that round or that competition, everybody will understand where you're coming from. And that is just invaluable. It's so, so important. So taking that, regardless of where you're at with your ability, experience, or level, and think about, I won't compete because of this, and think about the turnout that could happen if you just put forth the effort and sign your name up and you show up for a few seconds and you try and you see where it goes. Not only that, respect and sharing your art, but you also have the aspect of inspiration. You may not be the winner that day, you may not be the winner at that round, but you may have inspired somebody to levels that you never would have thought. And for the way that I view art in any medium, in any style, genre type, dance, visual, audio, etc., inspiration to me and being able to discover something new as to what I enjoy with that art, that's the ultimate high for me. So think about that as well when you're going into this, and think about that in turn. Number 4, this is a good one. This is where I could probably go on and on and on, but I'll try to just clamp it together. The music. Coflo, how do you dance to a shitty song? Coflo, when you're not feeling the song, how do you get down to it? Coflo, man, my style doesn't match this type of song. What do I do? So here's the thing. If you're not feeling the music, you're probably not going to be able to dance. You might be able to do some movement, but you might not dance, meaning you might not be able to reflect well at what's going on with the song. There's 2 solutions here as far if we're just to again, if I'm not trying to get super deep with it and I just kind of cut it and I say, okay, these 2 things are going on. How do I work through this? One thing is, do what you do comfortably, movement-wise, that works in your favor. Use those movements. If you want to do really, really well in a competition, you may actually have to train movement over dance, meaning you may have to have set series of movements that offer up and lend you like a toolkit that you can just pull out, string together, and do to impress the judges, to impress the audience, etc. If you're not that type of dancer, it's going to be really hard for you to convert your mindset to that. But that's something that you just see and will continue to happen. And to some degrees in certain types of competitions and certain styles, that's what's required, that level of high level consistency of tools and execution to be able to show that you can, perform at a certain level. Now, that's not where I'm at with dance. That's just not how I enjoy dance. And again, I'm not going to get deep in my philosophy of these things. But having a toolkit and having things and at least a comfortability in the way you move, like the way you walk down the street, you're not going to just change it just because. You're going to do what's comfortable. Use that, even if you're not feeling the song, and just do what you can. It may come off completely disconnected. And that's what it is. It is what it is. But doing that, you're going to lend yourself the ability to potentially learn maybe that format of music or even that song that you weren't necessarily feeling. And for example, I have a certain approach or a certain thing that's kind of in my foundation of how I like to move. I think I can apply that to any style of music. Does it translate and do people understand that? Not necessarily, but that's okay. But the more I practice that translation, the more opportunity given to me for that translation, because I'm not going to go home and put on a certain song that I don't like and just try to translate it. But the more opportunity you have, the better that might go over in competition. Now, you have to combine that with the other thing. Remember I said there's 2 things? The second thing is try to enjoy yourself. We already talked about this. You got to try to enjoy whatever it is. Sometimes enjoying yourself means acting. And this is the way that I look at it. Performing, being able to get more people involved than just yourself. And sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it's mad corny. It doesn't fit the song, whatever. If you enjoy yourself in any way, kind of leave your feelings and how you really think people look at you at the door, and just go in like, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to act a fool. This isn't my personal character to where I'll just shed those layers off and I'll kind of just do whatever. Might get a laugh, might get a ooh for one little thing, but I just try to enjoy myself. Some people don't have this in their character, and you can practice this. You can practice acting. You can practice performing when you put yourselves in these situations. That might help you have more fun doing, this whole dance thing and this whole competing thing. But if that's not in your character, put a smile on your face, do what you do your best, stick to that, like I said, that formation, that foundation, see if you can translate that song. Accept the challenge. When you play video games and you beat the video game on the beginner mode, and you say, yeah, I'm the king, I did it. Well, if you put it on expert, you get your ass handed to you. And this song that you're not feeling is expert mode. Can you do it? Really strong case in point to that. Expert mode does not mean funk song comes on and you got a lock or you got a boogaloo or whatever whatever your association with music genre equals dance genre. Fuck all that. Do what you're gonna do you. Now if you enter a stylistic competition and you're supposed to be doing something and there are rules and guidelines, know those rules and guidelines. Try to figure them out, ask questions beforehand, know the rails that you just put yourself on, and make sure you stay on that track. But when we're talking about a format where you dance a certain way and you decide to go and put yourself in this format, try to do your best and express what it is that you do and just have fun doing it. And a lot of people will translate that to as an all styles or an open styles competition. There's always going to be rules. Find out what those rules are. If you feel like breaking the rules, just be prepared for the results, because it's just dance. It's not like they're going to come and fine you a bunch of money for showing up and doing a move that they don't think qualifies for the genre. It's just dance. Have a good time. You'll be okay. There's a million more topics to be discussed here, I'm sure, but I just want to say dance competitions are never going to go away. They're already evolving and becoming more and more important. People are traveling thousands of miles to sit around for extreme amount of times just for 15 seconds of an opportunity to perform, to potentially get into a competition amongst hundreds of other competitors. I've done it myself and realize that the outcome and the direction for what you're doing when it comes to this grand scale of what you think is going to be what you want from your dance, just realize that moment is just a tiny little tiny speck of your life. And the winner of that competition that flew out, they got all the props, they beat all the people, they danced the most, that was the most amazing, that was still a tiny little dot and speck in their dance life. The only time that you are a champion and you've just annihilated everybody and it was the most grandiose thing is if at that moment after you win and you got the plaque, the award, the whatever, the kudos, the YouTube hits, is that if you retire from dance and you walk away and say, this is the greatest thing I've ever done. Because if that is what you plan on doing, I feel bad for you. There's always going to be another competition. It's always going to be bigger. In some cases, depending on opinion, there's going to be better ones. You have no idea what you're capable of until you continue to keep doing, continue to keep learning, continue to keep expressing and evolving and growing your art. So if dance competitions are your medium and that's where you shine and that's where you really want to develop your art, dope. Do that shit up. But realize that each opportunity, each competition is just another canvas that you're going to apply your art and then you move on to the next one. Look at all the other things that we talked about as to reasons why these competitions can be so much more insightful, so much more encouraging, so much more inspirational. These people that you meet, these relationships that you build, the opportunity to express yourself, your unique self, the opportunity to show something, to chip away at what people's perception of dance is and to show them what you are and how you dance. The ability to challenge yourself against new music or songs you're not feeling necessarily if it's not necessarily new. All of these things, to develop your own opinion, to be able to cast that opinion onto others, in a way that's, you know, non-negative, of course, but just subjective, constructive even sometimes. All these things are the beauty of what these competitions are, not the moment of winning or losing. So I hope some of this made sense. Maybe if all of it gets put together, it'll make a lot of sense. I'll see what happens when I watch it back. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I know it's long, but for those of you who really give a shit, you listen. And I listen to you, the people who really give a shit, because that's what this stuff's about. So go out and dance, because this is just dance at the end of the day. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Thanks for listening. Peace, blessings, love. Ashe.